peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What's good? You know, I really didn't know today how I was gonna do this episode and convey my thoughts, and I'm still kind of going back and forth in my head even as I start this episode. So someone on my Instagram timeline posted something. This was, when was it? Last week or a few days ago. Excuse my camera shaking a little bit, moving my desk. And I commented on what he posted. The post was related to something that Tyler Perry said at the Oscars. It wasn't necessarily what Tyler Perry said. There was a commentator that commented on what Tyler Perry said, and he had some very good things to say. But one of the things he alluded to as he was talking is, we're all generally good. Everything is all good. We're just good people. And I don't know how to say this. Okay, so I'm gonna try to put it in words. I don't want to put words in a gentleman's mouth, and I don't know who the commentator's name was. I've seen him before on YouTube in some different places. And I think, without putting words in his mouth, so this is what I think, and I could be wrong. I think his premise was, we're all generally good, and there are another group of people who are bad, and we're not like them. We're better than them. Now, we know that God's creation is good. God created us, and God's creation is good and it's right. Now, man, us, has corrupted what God has created. That doesn't make God's creation bad. God has given us free will. I am not a Calvinist. And there's a reason I'm going through all of these different ideas. I'm trying to convey my thoughts as concise as possible. So I know Calvinists don't necessarily believe in free will in the way I believe the Bible shows and displays free will. And I could be wrong. I don't want to give a blanket statement and say what all Calvinists believe. This is why I always try to make a distinction. I am not a student of any one philosophy or ideology. I love the Bible. I've been wrong about many things that I thought the Bible taught and I thought the Bible said. I'm willing to bend. When the Bible is right and I'm wrong, I'm willing to bend. That's where I'm at. So I don't like to put myself in any camp, because when you put yourself in a camp in that way, in a way, you don't leave room to grow and budge if you're wrong. Now, I'm not saying you can't hold to a doctrine if the doctrine is correct and is biblical and sound. That's not what I'm saying. But oftentimes when people attach themselves to movements and people, those movements normally go off course one way or another. And because you've attached your belief system so much to that group, it's hard to break away when somebody opens the Bible and says, hey, you think this, but this is what the Bible actually says, because your belief system is attached to the group and not the Bible. I know that was kind of a long intro and long discourse. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily go to my Bible app today, I just kind of wanted to share some thoughts, right? I had a conversation with a young lady in the comments, and it was good. It definitely wasn't a bad interaction. I'm not one to get into arguments over on social media with people. I try not to do that. If I'm gonna have excuse me as I move my mic, if I'm gonna have a discourse with somebody over social media, I'm going to do my best to make sure that this interaction is beneficial. It's a conversation. I have something I believe or think. You have something you believe or think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're wrong. So the thing I ran into is this thought process of us and them. We're better than them. These people are completely wicked. I'm good. And I'm different from them because they're wicked and I'm not. It's that this us and them mentality. And I don't believe the Bible shows this us and them mentality. In the Constitution of the United States, it is written that all men are created equal. I agree with that. I believe that's actually a biblical viewpoint. All men are created equal. We have an equal beginning. We all start at the same point. I think this us and them and us better than them mentality is not something new. I think it happened even back in the times of when the Bible was written. And this is kind of what me and the young lady were having a discourse about in the comments. And I was basically saying, I am no better than these people who committed these evil acts. Now, let me explain and give some caveats. I'm not saying that I am exactly like them. But what I'm saying is the ability to commit the same evil acts they committed is with me. I am not above committing any of these evil acts. Somebody who's a murderer, right? And this is especially before salvation. I had the propensity to do the same thing. Now, I thank God I wasn't presented with the circumstances to push me to making those decisions, but within me is the ability to make these same decisions. The problem with this us versus them mentality is it creates a situation where you can boast because you're better. And this is my contention with the way the commentator argued his point. And I try not to argue just for the sake of, or I try not to argue at all, but my contention wasn't just to be a contrarian. I really thought about what he said, and something about the way he presented his idea didn't sit right with me, and I didn't know why exactly. And I thought through some biblical things, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sure this thought process he's going down is actually biblical. So I'm going to go to some verses. I know that was kind of a long intro. I'm going to try to make this quick as possible. I try not to make my videos too long. I realize people's attention spans are pretty short. I know mine's is. Even though I watch long form videos, but I'm a unique kind of cat. I'm an information junkie. So whenever I see a video, if it's long, if the information is interesting, I'll watch all the way through. I've watched 3-hour episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast just because the interview was so interesting. Most people won't do that. They view it as a waste of time, but I'm a thinker. Thinkers are cursed with thinking. I think through things so in depth sometimes that I can't make a decision because I'm constantly thinking through this issue, overthinking at times. Anyway, let's get to these verses in the book of Romans chapter 3. Told you it was going to be a little different. Even what I said to my transition was different. All right, so I'm going to go through fairly quickly. I'll read verse 29 of chapter 2 because it does lead to what the Apostle Paul is saying inspired by the Spirit of God, obviously, in the rest of Romans chapter 3. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. So he's going over what makes a person a true Jew. It's inwardly. It's not about the law. It's about the Spirit. And goes on, going down to chapter 3, verse 1. What advantage then hath the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision? That word advantage means any state, condition, or circumstance favorable to success, prosperity, interest, or reputation, benefit, gain, or profit. So what advantage is there in being a Jew, right? Much every way chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God. So the commandments came via the Jewish people. The Old Testament came via the Jewish people, right? So if anybody's going to have a position or reason to boast, they would, right? I'll go verse 3 through verse 6. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? God forbid. Yea, let God be true, and every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. But if our unrighteousness commend the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unrighteous, who taketh vengeance? I speak as a man. God forbid. For then how shall God judge the world? That word commend means to represent as worthy of notice, regard, or kindness, to speak in favor of, to recommend. So go down verse 7 through 9. Like I said, I'm gonna go through this real quickly because just share my thoughts. You can read through the verses. If you disagree, you can inbox me. We can have a conversation about this. I'm open to those. I'm open to these discussions as always, as I always say. Not debate per se. This video is probably gonna be longer than I wanted to make it, but I have a lot of thoughts toward this end. I am not a debater, and I realize something about myself. Debate is a good thing. I'm not saying debating is bad, but it is better for me, and this is just my personality, to hear a person out and sit back and consider what they say, given some time. So I would rather hear I'd rather hear people's thoughts in a podcast, long form conversation form. I realize that that's more beneficial to me, just the way my brain works. Again, not that debating is bad, right? I would say the Apostle Paul was probably one of the greatest debaters. So I'm not arguing against debate for those who would think that that's my point. It's just that debating is not really my thing. I realize that. I have no problem discussing something with someone, but I would rather somebody in long form just tell me what their position is and listen, and then go back and analyze and think about it and kind of respond in long form. And really and truly, that's what this podcast amounts to. I have thoughts about a lot of things, and these are just my long form thoughts on these things. You may disagree, and you may analyze the things I say, and you may go, you know what? I've heard him out, but I don't really agree, and here's the reasons why I don't agree. And that's great. You really understand the position you hold, and it's not based on emotion. You've actually thought through this topic, so that's good. Anyway, verse 7 through 9. For if the truth of God hath more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner? And not rather as we be slanderously reported, and as some affirm, that we say, let us do evil, that good may come, whose damnation is just. What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have before proved both Jews and Gentiles that they are all under sin. So what does that mean? Jews and Gentiles. Jews, obviously the nation and people God chose to bring forth his truth and salvation, and Gentiles, everyone else. So this encompasses, when you see in the Bible Jews and Gentiles, this encompasses everyone. This is everyone, in case you miss the point. All right, now I'm going to read verse 10 through 18. I'm going to try to read with no commentary, but you know how I do. My brain just doesn't work that way, the way my brain is set up. Verse 10, as it is written. Now listen to this. This is, so in the comments, I asked the young lady, because we were having a discussion about, like I said, the us versus them discussion. No, we're good. These other people, they're evil. And I was like, I see your point, but I think that point is too simplistic. And I'm not saying that I don't think this is nuanced, but I think the Bible has a lot more to say about it than just that black and white, us versus them. You'll see what I'm getting at here in a little bit. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues, sepulchre is a tomb, grave. With their tongues they have used deceit. The poison of asp is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the way of peace have they not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Now it said there is none good, no, not one. That word none means not one, not any, not a part, not the least person. It comes from the Greek word, now probably going to slaughter this. The word is ou, however that's pronounced. I'm not even going to try to make it out. It's also ook, ak, and there's another one and I can't pronounce it. Used before a vowel, and only ox or ouch, I think that's how you pronounce that, before an aspirate. For those of you that don't know what an aspirate is, it's a letter marked with an asper or note of breathing, a mark of aspiration as the Greek accent. Okay, so, and then you find in there all. Word all means everyone or the whole number of particulars. It comes from the Greek word pas, which means including all the forms of declination of declension. Apparently a primary word, all, any, every, the whole, all, always or always, any, ever, every, as many as, thoroughly, whatsoever, whole, whosoever. So this encompasses everyone. In case anyone that was listening to what Paul was saying, in case anyone throughout history that would read this would miss the point, the truth in these verses applies to everyone. We are all equal in this regard. I'm getting to a point. Stay with me. Verse 19 and 20. Now we know that what things soever the law saith, it saith to them who are under the law, that every mouth may be stopped, and all the world may become guilty before God. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. No one is justified by deeds. So when you use that us, them argument, your argument really is my deeds make me better than these people. Who are we trying to be justified in the sight of, men or God? Which one matters? None of our deeds are going to make us just in the sight of God, right? So this us versus them dynamic doesn't work in that regard. Verse 21 and 22, but now the righteousness of God without the law is manifest, being witnessed by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness of God, which is by faith of Jesus Christ unto all and upon all them that believe, for there is no difference. There's no us versus them. The righteousness of God is by faith in Jesus Christ. Is not because you decided not to murder that person. Is not because you decided not to lie. These are good things to do, and these are good things to abide by, but this is not what makes you righteous in the sight of God. Verse 23 through 24. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God, whom God hath, glory of God, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. All have sinned, and redemption is in Christ, not in your works. You didn't lie? Great. You didn't cheat on your wife? Awesome. You decided to pay your taxes? Amazing. You told the truth to your boss? Excellent. That's not how you're justified in God's sight. That us versus them dynamic in that regard won't work. All right, verse 25 through 31. Whom God hath set forth to be a propitiation through faith in his blood, to declare his righteousness for the remission of sins that are past through the forbearance of God, to declare, I say, at this time his righteousness, that he might be just and the justifier of him who believeth in Jesus. Where is boasting then? It is excluded. By what law? Of works? Nay, but by the law of faith. Therefore we conclude that man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. As he is he the God of the Jews only? Is he not also of the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also. Seeing it is one God, which shall justify the circumcision by faith and the uncircumcision through faith. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. We establish the law. He said something in here. What he said was, where is boasting? Where is boasting? Where can we boast? What is he saying with that? Why did he ask, where's boasting? That word, boast, means, let me read the definition here, to brag or vaunt oneself, to make an ostentatious display in speech of one's own worth, property, or actions. So where is boasting? One person is a serial killer. One person lived a fairly decent life. Where is boasting? One person cheated on their spouse. One person is faithful. Where is boasting? Do those things justify you in the sight of God? Make you now again, and this was within the conversation I had with this young lady, and it was a good conversation. It wasn't one of those arguments trolling back and forth. We had an open discourse, and my contention was, what makes you better than they? The Apostle Paul said something that was really the catalyst of this thought when I heard this man's breakdown of Tyler Perry's speech. And listen to what the Apostle Paul said in the book of 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 15. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptation, that Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am chief. The Apostle Paul just said he is the chiefest of sinners. He's the head of all sinners. Of all sinners, he is at the top. If he understand that the scripture was given by inspiration of God, God inspired the Apostle Paul to pen this down in his word. You have to understand, when you read these things, you gotta think about these things critically. If the Apostle Paul held to the opinion that he was the chiefest of sinners, now understand, and this is kind of what I was getting at. I kind of got off track. I am not saying that how can I put this? Sometimes it's so easy to think something and so hard to convey it. There are people who decide to do certain things, right? They decide to commit some act of violence, commit some lewd act, do something that's just extremely wicked. And I'm not saying that you're just like them in that sense, but in the sense that within you is the ability to do the same exact things they did, you are just like them. Where is boasting? Where is this us and them? We are justified. Those of us who are saved, we can rejoice, right? Because it is God which worketh in us both to will and to do of his good pleasure, right? So the desire and the thought to do good originates with God to us. And then that's when we have a decision to make. All right, this is what I should do. I just read this in the Bible where it says X, Y, and Z. The Spirit of God has worked in you to let you know this is what you should do. So this is what we should do. Outside of salvation, right? Let's say you're not, for those of you who are listening to me who are saved, let's take you back to before you got saved. What was preventing you from doing and committing the same wicked acts as some of these other people? Now, again, I'm not saying you are exactly like them. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying we are all equal in our starting point. And if we get into this us versus them, we're good, they're evil. Now, again, there are people who do things that are crazy, right? And I'm not saying you want to do those things. But if you think somehow you're some kind of better human that has ascended to some better state, and you're so pious that you look down upon them as the others, then you fall into this category that was going on in Romans chapter 3. Where is boasting? I think we as believers would be so much more helpful to those that are without if and when they understand, I do good because I love God. It is God that worketh in me both to will and to do of his good pleasure. I'm no better than you. Outside of God working in me, I am no better than you. And when we get into this us versus them mentality, we forget what was said in the book of, here it is. I thought I was going to end this video. I told y'all this video was going to be longer today. Sometimes I get a little long-winded. I'm going to try to get to this verse as soon as my Bible app stops bugging out. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 1 and 2. I'll read this and I'll end here. And you hath he quickened, this is to believers, who were dead in trespasses and sins, wherein time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. But see, understand in that verse that these people who are now quickened were once there with the children of disobedience. It's not us versus them. It's God's righteousness and our unrighteousness. I'm thankful to God that somebody brought me the gospel. I'm thankful to God that my heart was brought low. I'm thankful to God for the illumination of the truth and that I received the truth, understanding my position was undone and broken. I'm thankful for what he did on the cross. I cannot boast. I'm not coming to God justified because of my righteousness. I have none. I'm coming to God justified because of the righteousness of Christ who died for me. That's it. Y'all know what it is. Stay frosty, people.